Okay, so this one's about the nature of depreciation. So it's not going to be about finance. It's going to be about energy. So a bit more esoteric than it has been over the last few days. But depreciation really as the polarity of appreciation. Now, we all know in accounting, if something's depreciating, it's diminishing in value. You know, you buy a car, a brand new car, as soon as you drive it off the lot, it's worth less because it's been used. And people don't appreciate a secondhand car as much as they do a brand new car. And so depreciation really means how much less something is being appreciated than it was originally. And the reason I want to talk about this topic is because it's important, especially in context of a gifting-based collaborative organization. Whether it's a commercial organization that has utilized collaborative gifting to initiate the project and get it to a standalone position, or whether it's a community project that's purely based on collaborative gifting. Either way, appreciation and depreciation are factored in. And so I'll give you a scenario in a collaborative gifting project. Let's say you pledge your gifts to a collaborative project, and your gifts are graphic design, and you've pledged that the value of those gifts for this specific project are $1,000 a month, just to make it easy. And let's say you come on board on the project, and because it's a new project, nothing's been created yet. There's this massive list of tasks to be done in terms of creating images and logos, for the website, edit, for social media. There's a big pile of tasks for the graphic designer to do. It's like a huge mountain when they start. Now, you valued yourself at $1,000 a month. And, the reality is it's probably, the first month is probably, $5,000 of work. And then eventually it peters off, and it will probably stabilize at a certain value per month, a certain amount of your presence that needs to be invested, that needs to be gifted in order to maintain that. So what's happening to your to the level of appreciation of your gifts? I mean, it's hugely appreciated in the beginning. But the demand for your gifts is diminishing. And therefore, the capacity for that project, for the community to appreciate you is diminished. It's not that you're less valuable. It's that the capacity of the project to appreciate you is diminished because the opportunities to engage your gifts have been diminished. And so it's important to understand that in that context, your gifts, in the context of the project, your gifts are depreciating. Now, this is why it's super important to just be following your nature and utilizing your gifts on projects because they inspire you. Because the ideal scenario is to get yourself in a position where you have a portfolio of projects that you're involved with. And, you're consciously managing your time and your energy. But in truth, you're just utilizing your gifts all the time. And so, by not having all your eggs in one basket, then you're flattening out the peaks and troughs. But nonetheless, this is a classic example of how gifts depreciate. And so I just want to tie this into, the nature of nature, the nature of the universe, the nature of all of life. And, every form of life operates in this way, where everything that is not currently being appreciated, everything that is not in the act, is not presently being appreciated, is depreciating. It's depreciating. So, classic example, if you buy something and you use it once and you throw it in the garage. I actually used to use Christmas Day as an example, perfect example, because it's very similar to the scenario of a graphic designer making a ton of logos and then not having much work to do after that. So it's Christmas Day. You get I'm a classic for this. I get my niece and nephew the coolest toys ever. And I get them lots of different toys, but they're all cheap and nasty. So they're lucky if they last the day on Christmas Day. But so the problem you've got with that is that, let's assume that they do last the day. That they have got some life in them. You give them the gifts. And they're utilised on the Christmas Day. You play the games and you play with the toys. Then the kids get home, throw them in a cupboard, or in the garage or something, and they're not appreciated ever again, potentially. Now, those items are locked away in a cupboard. No one is appreciating them, which means no one is utilising them. Now, the important thing to understand is that energetically, consciousness itself it behaves exactly the same way as an organism. You could even call it organic, and in the way that it splits, it gives of itself and then becomes more. And so when there is anything of atomic size that is not being imbued with the presence of another human being, it is depreciating, and it is in the process of decaying back into the earth. Now, when you have something and you utilize it, and you're appreciating it because it's of use, it has utility. You're actually imbuing it with energy, with your presence, and at an energetic level, this is extremely stimulating. And the best way to describe it is it's like it's filling even that inanimate object. It's filling it with vitality, with character, with your appreciation, and it's like, I'm into audio engineering and, music production and stuff. And there are, with microphones, are a classic example. A microphone the older the microphone is, the more valuable it is, the more it's appreciated, because of the character that it gains over time. And, if it's been used by certain people, in a certain studio, then it becomes more and more appreciated. And so you have these microphones that just last for years and years and years, decades really, and appreciate in value because people appreciate the character, and they appreciate what's added to the microphone because so many people's presence has been imbued into it, and it's tangible. There are audio engineers that can feel the difference in a microphone just because of how much it's been used and how many people's voices have been imbued into that item. It's been so appreciated, and that's tangible. You can feel it. Whereas if that exact same microphone was used once and tossed in a cabinet, it would feel cold when you came to use it, as opposed to feeling warm and vital and alive. because all the atoms within that form the molecular structure of that microphone, they respond to observation, to presence. And I won't go into quantum physics, and a lot of you will know about the nature of a wave. When it's observed, it forms a particle. So it's, any form of energy that is a wave is pre-manifestation. It's pre-matter. And when it's observed, it becomes matter. But what a lot of people don't realize is that it's decaying into matter from a state of energy, as opposed to the other way around. So when you have a form of energy, it exists as the latent potential to become a state of matter, but it is decaying. It's radioactive decay. It decays from energy into matter. And the reality, without going too deep, let's say a form of matter, it existed as energy, and it's observed, and then it decays into matter, and then so it has atomic size. Then that matter, let's say it's never observed ever again, so it's never appreciated ever again. I really don't appreciate this piece of matter. Then it is then in the process of integrating back into energy. And so once something reaches material size, atomic size, the natural thing to assume is that it begins to decay into the earth. And that this is the paradox, because that's true. Yet it is also decaying from energy or wave, light, into matter. So what's the point? Appreciation imbues everything with life. Appreciation imbues everything with life. And if something exists in a state of pure potential, then energy, like a wave, and just simply observing it causes it to take on material form, then you realize that everything, your presence is creating everything. The energy of your presence alone, your presence, what you're focusing your attention on now, is being imbued with energy. It's appreciating, it's growing. The main thing people are giving their attention to right now is the screen on their phone, Facebook. And so Facebook is absolutely gigantic. It's appreciating like crazy. The business model is literally the monetization of people's attention. That's because it's the only true currency is attention. It's the only thing that has the capability to evolve life and move it forward is your attention. And the thing that you're focusing on through the lens of your perspective is the thing that's growing. Facebook, Instagram, fear. It's not a coincidence that COVID is plaguing the entire planet. It's a manifestation of our focus on fear. Fear of death. But in truth, what it's truly reflecting to us is our inability, our lack of capability and willingness to focus on life. It's a reflection of our apathetic nature. When we wait for things to come along, then we're giving our attention to the waiting. We're imbuing our presence into being apathetic. It's just breeding stagnation, and that stagnation will never shift. until our attention is focused upon what it is we truly want to imbue with life, on what we truly want to expand. And the reality is that what we really want to expand and to grow and to become more is an environment within which we're appreciating our own gifts. Just find an excuse to use them. You don't have to be the best web developer. You don't have to be the best graphic designer, the best audio engineer. You don't have to be the best music producer. You don't have to be the best entrepreneur, the best general manager. You don't have to be the best software developer. You don't have to be the best project manager. You don't have to be the best investor or backer or copywriter or accountant. You can be mediocre. You can be adequate. You can be enthusiastic and have no experience. Use that gift now. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be an expert to create something magnificent. You just have to have the willingness and the impetus to imbue whatever that gift is with your presence continually. And what better way to do that than through collaborative gifting? Everyone coming together to create something spectacular towards a unified intent of purpose, and everyone enthusiastically gifting their gifts to the project. They don't have to be the experts. It's about the fact that they've come together to create something. And like some projects, I'm involved in a project right now, and the Brains Trust within this organization, what I call the voice, they're convinced that you can't create something unless you have absolute experts in that thing. And it creates paralysis. And so what we're manifesting at the moment is stagnation, because we're waiting for experts when the truth is the enthusiasm and the passion for the vision is already within the team right now. And the belief in being able to achieve it is also within the team right now. Will it take us longer because we're not experts? Of course. Will we make more mistakes than experts would? Definitely. But when passion drives people, and when the realization of a shared vision is what everyone's really going for, people will never stop. They'll give of themselves endlessly until that vision is made real. So don't let this trap of feeling like you have to be an expert in whatever you're passionate about prevent you from using your gifts now. There are people out there now who will appreciate those gifts because they know that their project will appreciate because of it. And understand anything that you're not imbuing with your presence, that you're not consciously choosing to appreciate, that no one's attention is being placed upon, energetically nature is drawing it back in to be refused and repurposed into something that meets a currently unmet need. So don't waste things. Look, don't hoard things under the mindset of it may come in handy later. I may use this again someday. Oh, this was a gift from so-and-so, so I'm obliged to keep it because it would be rude for them to think that I've passed it on to someone else. All of those, the mindset of all of those things is of depreciation. And all it does is clutter up the world and prevents someone who has a need right now that could be met by accessing the latent potential of what you're not appreciating now. Put it on. In New Zealand, we've got Trade Me. It's like eBay. Put it on Trade Me now, $1 reserve. Receive some money for it, but it will guarantee that someone will appreciate it now. If you need one in the future, buy one then, or borrow one. But if you look in your garage and there's stuff there that you haven't used for, over 6 months, 12 months, what are you doing? It's just sitting there depreciating. Give someone the opportunity to appreciate that thing. Whether they give you money for it or not, whether you gift it, or whether you refuse it by turning it into refuse, sending it to the rubbish dump, allowing the earth to refuse it into some other form of matter that can meet a currently unmet need. This is the cycle of life. This is the cycle of all existence, and this is how it works. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is left behind. But unlike every other natural system, what I would call a serpo, a self-regulating perpetual system or organization, is that human beings do waste things. Nothing else in nature wastes things. The human body, it utilizes everything that is still useful. Everything that is obsolete is refused. It's turned into something useful. And a stem cell is produced that has the capability, the potential to become anything. Our earth has the same mechanism. We're not very smart about how we manage refuse, because there is a natural mechanism for it that's very, very simple. But we're getting there. We're getting there. So be natural. Don't allow stuff to depreciate when the potential for that to be appreciated exists right now. And try and understand where obligation is ruling your life and has created a prison that you feel like you can't escape from. Because you can't refuse people's love. If they've gifted you something, if they purchased you a gift at Christmas, you can't let go of it because you feel like you're refusing their love. You can refuse their love because you're not actually refusing it. It's something that is given and received and experienced in the moment. It's only our belief that love is finite that causes us to hoard things like that have been a loving exchange in the moment. We try to hold on to that love, not realizing that it's totally abundant. And that if we just focused on expressing our nature and sharing our gifts, then all people would ever feel from around us is love. They'd feel an abundance of love. And therefore they wouldn't try to bond themselves and to other people. They wouldn't try to create relationships based on obligation. They wouldn't try to bond to each other in the way that they do now, because they know that love is totally abundant. And when you commit to yourself to share your own gifts, to understand your potential, to tap into your latent potential and to share those gifts, then you realize the impetus to act and to express your nature in that way, to share that gift, is a gift that's given to you. Inspiration is kinetic energy, holding the impetus for you to act and move forward in a way that ignites your passion and that makes you feel love, and that will guarantee that the recipient of whatever it is you're creating will feel that same love. There's a much bigger picture going on here than commercial businesses and collaborative projects. This really is about how can we love each other and ourselves? And how can we create an environment within which we're pursuing joy? It's such a simple idea. That we're using the skills that we want to use, that we're appreciating the things that we want to appreciate, and creating incredible innovations. And imagine a scenario where we're not always focused on the commercial viability of a project. We're actually seeing it as art. We're coming together to create something. Let's create the best thing that we can, rather than the thing that's going to be the most commercially viable. Let's make the thing that will be most appreciated by us in the process of making it, and by the people who will come to appreciate it once it's realized its full potential. Okay, so how can we? That's it for now. That's it for the nature of depreciation. Catch you soon.